Now, Ghana's agricultural sector is dominated by informal activities, which consequently slow growth in the area. As a result, Chief Executive for Maxwell Investment Group, Maxwell Ampong, has been calling for a formalization of the sector to enhance its attractiveness. Yes, I'm speaking to Joy Business.
I always say in calamity is opportunity. The agro sector within Africa is very much untapped and it's heavily informal. So we had the idea that if we were to enter a largely informal sector with a formal approach, that might give us, number one, a little bit of difficulty, but number two, is a huge opportunity should we be able to succeed. And we started off by starting with a strategy that we didn't even know was a strategy. We're just nice. We're just nice, buying at fair market price and smiling. And after that, we got wind from the biggest agricultural trade union in Ghana, which is the General Agricultural Workers Union of Ghana, the YESGAO. So in that space was that opportunity to grow, opportunity to innovate, opportunity to contribute. And we decided to make our home within the agricultural sector, and that is why we actually did that.
Having been doing that for some time now, is it an area that you recommend for the youth? Definitely.
The agricultural supply chain is not just about, well, farming used to be something that one would think you have to go to the farm and, and there's honor in doing that. But the value chain, Patrick Osocha recently told me, the value chain is so vast that if you're not farming or you're not even selling the agricultural commodities, there's warehousing, there's aggregating, there's packaging, there's the tracking and logistics side of it. There is so much to do along the agricultural commodities or the agricultural supply chain that young people can always find a space in there to make a living. You need not get into the actual planting and sowing and watering and harvesting and all of that.
Where you sit, how do you see the sector, the agri sector, moving forward or in the future? How do you see the country's agri sector?
I think years ago, and I need to commend the government on at least the mentioning of initiatives alone or the thinking of it alone is worth commending. I think we started talking about processing. A typical example is, I think soybean right now would retail for, the typical soybean will retail for about maybe $800, $900. The moment you process it, it goes to about $1,800. So that's like $1,000 lost within that value chain. So I believe that moving forward, the opportunity for Africa, for Ghana, for the subsector, for even the sector is local processing. But the problem with that is that machines are expensive in Africa. Labor is much more affordable. Whereas I think getting machines overseas is much more affordable, and labor is rather the relatively a little bit more expensive. So getting a machine here to process and it's not as easy as it sounds, and which is why I as much as we are advocates of doing that, anybody that wants to do that, it's we would encourage them to do it. It's just baby steps until we actually get there.
How do we solve these challenges, like you mentioned, labor and stuff? I know you are doing a lot to, better the sector, but how do we solve some of these challenges? What has been the most difficult in this journey for you? And how do we solve this challenge?
For us, for Maxwell, and I'm speaking for us alone, for Maxwell Investment Group, for us, our most difficult challenge has been to translate what we are doing in the field to our formal sector partners. Agriculture is largely informal. So how do you describe in investment, in informal terms, what the farmer is actually doing? And that is what we've been cracking our heads on how to really contribute to that. Because even recently, I think one of the biggest financial institutions in Ghana, who is our friend, and I think I would even mention them, GCB Bank. GCB, is the biggest bank by way of assets. Executive Director Sam Edu has been so helpful. He welcomed us into his office. We spoke about the agricultural supply chain and everything. And he was in agreement that there's a largely informal side of things that makes it difficult for formal sector to get in. But there's also a formal part of things, which is after the goods are actually kind of like standardized. So Maxwell Investment Group, our job that we took upon ourselves, you mentioned why we entered the sector. Now, this is the clear answer. We standardize non-standardized commodities, making them internationally recognizable. Then it becomes like a product. that the white man, that the local company, that any institution, whether local or foreign, can understand, put a value on it, and then that value we dissipate it along the supply chain. That way, I'm not looking to buy cheap products or less quality products for small money, cheating the farmer. Mine is, I'm a ready market that buys good products, sell for more, pay more, everybody wins, and then we all just, go about our lives. So we standardize, non-standardized agricultural commodities products.
So how has the market been for you? I mean, you did mention that you are a ready market and all that, but you also sell it to others. How has that market been for you?
Frankly, we are very, very humbled by the reception of the sector. Basically, recently we did the MIG Business Forum, where we did it in conjunction with the Zongo and NICT Development Secretariat. I don't know Honorable Benabulai from Adam, but when we called on him and said, we work in the Zongo communities, we are buying soya bean and shea nuts by the numbers in the north, we want to talk to the leaders and say, we want to work with you to add value, to contribute to something extra than just buy and sell, let's go away. He didn't shake his head. Our forum was attended by him, by Dr. Al-Hassan Andani even came, the Paramount Chief of Nasaguru, Ambassador also came, the Muslim Council of Chiefs came, they all came. And we also have the support of media giants, agro giants in Ghana that have invested. Wilma is huge, right? Wilma is a strong partner of ours who have contributed to the land, and that is what we like about Wilma. They are people, they are not, I'm buying and I'm going, bye-bye, I'm taking my money away. They actually contribute. They hire a lot of people and contribute to tens of thousands of livelihoods in Ghana right now. And these are the partners that have welcomed the MIG concept, which is impact products and impact services, where we don't just do products and services. We want to have an impact in the community that we are in, because we realized also early on that community is a big part of the business model. Without community, you're basically just buying and selling,
So away from the agric sector, let's move on to one other innovation that you are bringing on board, the USSD project. Tell us briefly about it and why you are, introducing such a thing into your business.
I mentored one guy at the General School of Entrepreneurship who is now like a genius, a Web3 blockchain genius, right? Max Bunda. He has his company, Mineral Labs. They are experts in traceability. So that's where the idea came from. With traceability comes trust, comes confidence in whatever process that is happening. So imagine if the meeting I had with Mr. Sam Edu from the Executive Director of GCB Bank, if I told him that, okay, the agro-commodities that is coming can be traced, or can be, you will be able to know where it is at every point in time until it gets to the warehouse where it's finally standardized, maybe rebagged and standardized by SGS or Intertech. These are standardization organizations that take our products, check the quality, foreign matter, the protein level, everything, and gives us a report to say this is the quality of your product. At that point in time, it's a standardized product. Imagine if before that point in time, there was some kind of accountability and traceability for the product until then. The formal sector would then trust more to get into that sector more, because I don't see insurance entities giving insurance to farmers. I don't see, no, it barely happens because they don't know. It's not their fault. There's risk involved in these things that we are trying to alleviate, but we do not want to complain. USSD is an infrastructure that is very, very easily accessible. The grandmother living in some village knows how to use mobile money very easily. So Max Bunda, what we are doing with Mineral Labs in the UK is we've partnered to create the MIG USSD, which is going to connect the traceability, accessibility, and the trust of blockchain and Web3 to USSD, such that it brings trust into the supply chain. so that we can welcome other partners. Not MIG is not, the agricultural sector is so huge. In fact, this is everything we're doing now is more of a call for other partners to join. We're not a bank, but would love for other financial institutions to join and say, because of the traceability of this, if the products were to be, for instance, standardized, put on a truck that has goods in transit insurance, the traceability of it is also done, then okay, I'm willing to give the farmer some money. I'm willing to give the farmer some insurance at this point. I'm willing to, and then we don't solve the whole problem, but we are moved an inch closer to the farm. We at MIG see ideas as open source, just like the way an open source technology would wish to see all of its ideas incorporated into other technology. We see, as we have mentioned it, and we hope that other partners and other companies and other people will just pick it up and make it bigger than what we even thought it would be.
So what impact do you expect to have on the economy with this particular project? Because traceability is very good, and I mean, coming into such a space, what impacts should we be expecting from you?
If a tomato costs, I always use the tomato because everybody knows the tomato degrades very fast. If a tomato costs 1 cedi and you don't buy it in time, or you don't transport it in time, if you don't get to do what you want to do with it in time, in a short amount of time, the value goes up. So when you bring in partners into that formal sector, the farmer is no longer alone. The farmer now has an insurance partner. The farmer now has a financial partner. The farmer now, you understand? So that can then make sure that they have access to a bigger, better market. And we keep talking about job creation, adding to the economy, These things can actually be visualized. Gandhi. The tomato is an example of how if you do not transport it in time, you lose 50 pesos per tomato within like a certain amount of time. Imagine if there's 100 or 1 million tomatoes that went through this process. You'd have lost like 500,000 just by the delayance and the lack of partners to be able to push your agenda and your supply chain. The whole idea of what we are doing or the impact we want to see is we want to see more of the formal sector get involved in agriculture so that the agricultural sector players are not isolated or felt alone, and frankly, they contribute more than half of the GDP. It's a huge market, but the suit and tie people like me, we normally don't like to get our hands dirty, but that is also where the money is. The billions we are looking for all over the globe, it is in the soil. It is there. So. Yeah,
that's money in the bush.
There's money. There's a lot of money in the bush, plenty. So, and there's a lot of money for everybody in the bush. It's not just an MIG thing. So everybody should get involved in the bush.
So, but there's another question that is lingering. Does the environment favors the sector? I mean, the business environment that we are in. Even though we know that government has been doing something, yes. I mean, currently, does it favor the sector?
Well. That's a sensitive question, number one, because if I say yes, it favors the sector, then that means everything is smooth. If I say it doesn't favor the sector, that means that nobody's doing anything to help the sector. So what I would say is that MIG is here to buy agro commodities. We've done a lot of soya bean. We have an export license. We are now going to do shea nut in large quantities. No matter how bad the sector is, or the buyer better at good price. We represent that ready market that regardless of how, whatever the comedy is, is happening at the background, we represent a ready market that will buy, will pay on time, and you can trust the MIG brand. Because yes, nothing is flawless, but at least with the MIG brand, you are dealing with an institution that would serve you well. Like I said earlier, our strategy was just we're nice. The niceness was out of naivete, but point is. The niceness worked. We were just nice, smiling, learning the process, and then boom, it just picked up, and then it worked. So that's when we also realized that community is much more important within the sector. So yes, if we look at the reference rates right now, we look at things, it gets a bit difficult, which is why I'm talking about how to bring the formal sector into the non-formal sector, because we are here, but there's money in the bush nonetheless.